Oh, this could be an opening. The man they want to have the opening. It's Lawrence Sheffield. That is the moment. The moment of madness.
Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to Hearts and Sleeves podcast, a podcast all about Heart of Midlothian Football Club, its fans, and all the ups and downs we experience on the way. This week we're going to be looking at the victory over Dundee United, which made it 2 wins out of 2 for this league season. We've also had 4 wins before that in the League Cup. And we also had a further 4 wins at the end of last season, making it 10 competitive wins in a row. Last time we did that was in 1959, and can you guess what happened in that year? I'll give you a clue. We're currently top of the table. I'll leave it there. So today, first of all, we're going to look at the games that were played across the weekend, all across the Premiership. And joining me to discuss all of them, and then of course the Dundee United game, are Trunter and Adam. How are you both doing after that weekend?
I'm good, thanks, man. How are you?
All the better for Hearts winning, I'll say that much. What about yourself, Adam?
Oh, absolutely amazing. Got a massive bruise on my leg from the celebrations, but absolutely worth it. So yeah, delighted at the moment.
I suspect you might carry a few more bruises by the end of tomorrow, because Adam is away to go and see Oasis, which I'm very jealous about. I was going to try and add some Oasis puns there, but I think I'm just going to have to roll with it.
Jeez.
Okay, so let's have a look first of all at what results we had at the weekend. We'll begin with Rangers against Dundee. 1-1, it finished. I forgot to say last week, one of my favourite things in Scottish football is when a manager, I don't know, it's not exclusive to Scottish football, I'm sure, but it does seem to happen a lot in Scottish football when a new manager comes in and after just like one competitive league game, they absolutely blast their players and give them all a proper roasting. And it really did its work, clearly, because after that, he managed to get a 1-1 draw with the favourites for relegation, Dundee. And you know what? Presley getting it right up us and managing to do something we've not been able to do in years, which is get a result of some kind at Ibrox. Adam, what are you thinking about that one?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I thought the penalty they got was fairly soft. Rangers penalty. Absolutely. Really happy that Rangers are continuing to slip up. They've just had such a weak start to the season so far, and I think what's really good when Rangers are struggling, the fans really turn against them, no matter if it's a new manager or not. So if they keep having a shaky run, the pressure is just going to build and build. So yeah, long may it continue that they're dropping points.
And the other 2 games that Saturday was St Mirren against Motherwell. We won't focus on that. We'll focus on that a bit later on when we preview our upcoming Premier Cup game against St Mirren. Livingston, they seem to be Falkirk's bogey team. Livingston dispatching Falkirk pretty easily, 3-1. And I have to also give mention to Sports Scene on Saturday. We were just talking about, Adam, a bit of, for us oldies, it was a real enjoyable listen. It's just, there's something about Archie Macpherson's voice that just gives me such a hit of nostalgia. You know when you get a smell and it just takes you back somewhere? That's what it's like for me and Archie Macpherson's voice. As soon as I hear it, I'm right back watching classic 80s and 90s Hearts matches in my grandparents' front room. So it's just good to hear him again. Jock Brown, I thought, was really good, Adam, don't you think?
Yeah, I was really young when he last was on the BBC, and it was very great hearing him commentate, because suddenly I'm recognising his voice from some of the old derbies and old clips. So I thought he sounded like he could still do a job now, to be honest.
Did you enjoy the nostalgia hit as well, Trunter?
That was the first thing I wrote when I was watching the St Mirren Motherwell highlights. Archie Macpherson. So I've had an incredibly busy week. I've been trying to get caught up sort of last minute. That's why I've missed the last kind of last 2 pods as well. So I had no idea that for the 50th that they were bringing back like old commentators. When Archie McPherson came on, I thought I was like tripping out. I thought they'd used AI or something. I didn't realize he's 88, and it just it hit that nostalgia thing in my mind. As soon as it kicked in, it almost sounded like they were using some kind of like audio filter. I don't. They probably were, to be fair, and that's why it sounded like that. But it just sounded incredible, and my man, that just it made watching those highlights an absolute joy. And of course, the result was probably perfect for an old school Scottish game coming out 0-0.
Yeah, Doogie Donnelly, I have to say, did an excellent job as well presenting it. Really enjoyed it. I hope they do it again in another 50 years.
Just one thing, you remember what I think of Archie McPherson with as well was when they had Scott Sport, which was absolutely terrible when it was on at one point. Do you guys remember like Sarah O?
Was she the one that
Julian-
used to go Falkirk?
Yeah, Julian Sinclair.
Yes,
He
I do
was like the
remember
brother of the guy that won Big Brother.
Big Brother, yeah.
Yeah, and
No way!
and he was from like Orkney or something like that. I bumped into him once when I was at a club in Glasgow when he was presenter on Scott Sport. I just remember, I think Archie McPherson was involved with that, and that was horrendous. But he's obviously got a great career. But that period of Scott Sport, you used to get about like 5 minutes of highlights in like a 1 hour program, basically. And then it was
How
just
long ago was that? Would that?
Oh,
Would
20 years ago
that
or
feels
something.
almost.
Yeah,
I was
20
going to say that feels Romanov era.
Possibly was, yeah. It was that kind of time because I started uni in 2005, and I remember bumping into Julian Sinclair when I was in like first or second year, randomly seeing him in a club, and he was I think it probably was when Romanov was there.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how starstruck were you when you met him?
I think it's got to be a 10, really. I know you just
Isn't-
bumped into Pete Doherty, but like Julian Sinclair, you know.
Taking that from him, he was going to boast about that.
You've robbed me. So his name Julian Sinclair, is that right?
Julian Sinclair, yeah.
As in like the comedian?
Let me check. what his
Jamie, are you
name
not
is.
thinking of Julian Clary?
Yes.
That's
enough.
it.
It was Julian
That's it.
Sinclair, Sarah O, and like Jim Delahunt, I think was Jim Delahunt as well. Remember?
Yeah. Was he
Yeah,
on
it was
that? I don't think he was on that show, but yeah, he's again.
I think he was like the actual football presenter, and then the other two were just there, seemingly with no knowledge of football, and just there randomly. Worst program ever. But anyway, I've gone off on a tangent.
I mean, a nice bit of nostalgia and a little bit of PTSD just to balance it all out there. So moving on to Sunday then. Plenty of goals across all the games, starting off with Aberdeen against Celtic. They didn't play great, Celtic, but at the same time, they're not really up to speed and they're still able to get all these results. However, they've not come up against us yet, and that's when their real test will be, right?
Aye, and the second one was Hatate, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Aye, that was a good one.
It was a beauty, but it wasn't goal of the day, in my opinion, because that came from the Hibs-Kilmarnock game. So whilst we're watching the Dundee United Hearts game, we're getting updates from that, and you could see that Hibs went 2 up. And at this point, we were losing 2-1, and I thought, this is just going to be one of these days, isn't it? We talked about it last week, Adam, just that feel-good factor that we had, and I could just start to feel it slightly drain out of us. How were you feeling when you saw those scores come through?
Yeah, I think I was less concerned by the other results because for me at the moment it's really just about seeing Hearts continue to win. And I think when we were at that point when we were losing, you're just worried about momentum. You know, I think like with Hibs, you know, eventually they're not going to win every game. They're going to fade away. So I'm not overly worried about them. But it was certainly like disappointing to see that they were winning early on.
And I think, you know, it was Hanley's debut, and I think he had an okay game. However, the show was completely stolen by an absolute beauty from Ben Brannan, young 18-year-old, looks already such a clever player. It wasn't just a goal, which I'll come on to in a second, but he was just able, there's a fantastic moment where you flick the ball up and away from a Hibs defender, got a maturity beyond his years. He's one that I think really is going to develop into quite a player for them. The goal he scored though, so if you've not seen it, go watch it, because genuinely one of the best goals I've seen in a long time. The ball kind of falls out from him, he's just outside the box, but before it hits the ground, he volleys it kind of on the front of his foot. When you're watching it, you think it's going to go sailing miles above the crossbar, but it just dips suddenly and over the Hibs keeper. A sensational strike. Hibs were back to their usual way of Hibsing it. They looked like they'd completely run away with it in the first half, but then all came tumbling down, which I was very happy about in the second half.
I've just seen that Brannan goal. What a belter.
Right?
Oh my word, that is a screamer.
I mean, it takes something special to beat that Hatate goal, I have to say, but that was one that I was actually listening to some podcasts today that were like the BBC ones, and they were saying that Hatate's was a goal of the weekend. Not even close, in my humble opinion. But let's talk more about the game that really matters. Dundee United against Hearts. Me, Adam and John were there to see it at Tannadice. It wasn't easy to get a ticket for it because feelings ahead of this game were really positive. How did you feel when you saw that lineup, Adam? I'll talk you through it and you can tell me how you felt about it when you saw it. And if you sort of still had that positivity, were you still carrying it? So back in goals, it really wasn't much of a change at all from Aberdeen. I think there's only one change, in fact, from the Aberdeen game. Clark back in goals, back three, Finlay, Halkett, Kent. On either side, at the wings, Milne and Forrest, who was the one who came in due to Borch Grevink having an injury, which we'll talk about later. In the middle, you had Spittle, Devlin, McEntee. Up front, Braga and Shankland. Thoughts, Adam?
I mean, I think the one big concern that jumped out was seeing Alan Forrest at right wing back. Other than that, it's pretty much, the standard kind of strong team. But that certainly was a worry at the start of the match. I think that's the biggest kind of talking point, because everything else was pretty much, we've got starting to get a bit of a spine of a team at the moment, I think.
Definitely. And it was, when we were talking about it in the pub beforehand, Adam, we did think that would be likely the area that Dundee United would try and exploit it. They did, but we will come on to that later. So game kicked off. It probably took about 10 minutes for the first real chance for Hearts. Before then, Kent and Forrest had chances from set pieces. Perhaps both could have done better with their header. However, it was just after that when Braga got a huge chance. He bulleted a header right at the keeper, who actually did really well to hold on to it. I have to say, I was pretty happy he didn't score. The reason being, I hadn't even managed to get to a seat. I was kind of standing I'd been there the whole time, but it was completely mobbed in the way end. And I was right in the middle of some stairs, basically, and everyone's kind of clambering over each other at this point. And we're all singing the Braga song. Trunter, do you want to give us a rendition?
So I'm totally cracking up just now. No.
No, right. Moving on then. So yeah, if you've not heard it,
I'll do that. I'm not. I was thinking from the start of the whole thing, because we had that in the group chat, bro. But I'll just give it an. All we need is Gladio Braga, Gladio Braga, Gladio Braga.
Yeah, basically everyone was singing that. It was pretty raucous, and honestly, if he'd scored at that point, I probably would have lost at least a couple of limbs. So in a way, I was gutted, and in another way, I was very happy to walk away with both my legs. Just a couple of minutes after that, Hearts, however, did get not only the opportunity, but a golden opportunity to take the lead, as Finlay was wrestled to the ground We got ourselves a penalty, and I have to say, didn't seem to be much in the way of arguments from the Dundee United players. Talk us through it, please, Adam.
Yeah, and I think Shankland stepped up to take the penalty, and I think what's really noticeable is, I think you feel a lot more confident now with him stepping up, thinking he's going to score, because obviously things were a bit shaky last season, and it's just such a confident penalty, and celebrations were great, and at that point, everything was looking amazing. I was thinking at that point we were going to win 3-0, to be honest. So yeah, it's brilliant seeing him so confident with penalties.
Absolutely. And I think that's another part of what just made me so happy about that was just how calm he looked before it. And even when he scored, he stroked it in, off he went. Celebrations all round. And as you say, I thought we were going to be on easy street. However, just a couple minutes after that, Kent concedes a free kick. Now, Adam, we spoke last week about how Dolček would be a possible danger man for Dundee United, and we also spoke a bit about potential goalkeeping issues that we might have. Well, we saw both of them with this one. Talk me through it, will you, Trunter?
It was a decent free kick. I mean, it was decent pace on it. It was on target, but Clark should have had it. Like, really no excuse. Just got a bit of the old floppy hand there, man. It was I just when I saw it go in, my first thoughts were, and I think I put it in the group chat, was that Craig Gordon would, like, not only would he not have stopped that going in, it would have been almost like nothing to him. And I felt really bad for Xander on that one, and the latter one, which we'll talk about in a bit. I think there's maybe a confidence issue going on there, because it just didn't look like confident goalkeeping, pretty poor handling, and good shot, good free kick, shouldn't have gone in.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to avoid that comparison with Gordon, isn't it? You look at that and you just think 10 times out of 10, Gordon saved that, because it wasn't, it was a fine free kick. It was a very good free kick, but it's one of those ones you're thinking at most it'll get saved and deflected out and they might get a chance from that. But it wasn't right in the corner, and he didn't cover himself in glory at all with that one.
At the game, John was even talking before the free kick went in about Clark's positioning, and another thing, obviously, giving away a free kick in that position. My worry is, obviously, we're being a bit more physical now. There's going to be more free kicks. It was quite worrying giving away a free kick in that position, but yeah, Clark certainly shouldn't have let that one in.
No. I have to say that we did react pretty well after the goal, and I noticed in particular we're sort of firing crosses right onto the keeper, who could only palm them away. Braga, I think, looked particularly full of energy and intent, and at one point I noticed he chased and harried each of the Aberdeen's back four as he passed it out to one another, trying to get away from him. Yet despite this, in 41 minutes, Dundee United were the ones to score. Adam, I'm going to talk you through this, and I know we're probably going to end up criticising Clark yet again. When I saw it, I thought Clark needs to do better there. And then when I saw the replay, I thought, he really needs to do better there. But he's not the only one at fault. And I would also say Dolček actually does pretty well with what he does there, because it's a kind of angle where you think he's going to cross it in, but he hits it first time, and he just completely, the goalkeeper second guessed it. To me, it looked like Forrest was kind of caught out of position in the first instance as well.
Yeah, I think it's a really bad goal all round to lose. I think they're exploiting Forrest there. I mean, the amount of space they get there is not really acceptable. And I mean, I think Clark does even worse with this one, much worse with this than he does with the free kick. And you can tell by his reaction, he's absolutely gutted. But it is concerning. It's only one game, but it is concerning because I think, say what you want about Craig Gordon, he's a brilliant shot stopper, and My only hope is, Clark's not played a lot for ages. Maybe he's a bit rusty. But yeah, really, really poor goal to lose. And I think defensively and from a goalkeeping point of view. And the funny thing is, like, I actually thought we had a decent first half. I didn't really think it was a first half where we should have been 2-1 down at all.
Yeah, it did feel painful going into that second half behind. As I say, I didn't really feel at all that we should have been. In fact, we had one final chance before half-time to make it level. A snapshot from Braga. Keeper did really well to save it. At half-time then, 2 changes were made. Kent and Forrest went off, with Steinwender and Kizaridis coming on, meaning we're switching to a 4 at the back. I don't know how you both felt, but I think, again, we didn't start a second half particularly strongly. Most notably, I thought that McEntee and Milne probably had the biggest drop-off in performance from the first half. And we had a lot of possession, but weren't doing a great deal with it. What is everyone's thoughts on how we started that second half, and what were the thoughts on the substitutions as well?
Yeah, I think it was a really good decision with both subs. I think Kent and Forrest both struggled. And I thought Steinwender actually, did pretty well when he came on. I think, and really happy obviously to see Kizaridis play again, get a bit more game time. So yeah, I think it was a good call, and I think it's really important that you see McInnes making changes that early on.
I do think that Steinwender is making a bit of a case for himself to become a first choice. Kent hasn't hugely impressed me over the last couple of games, just across both of them. Steinwender might well be one who's really pushing for that position. Either option is a pretty strong one, but it's good just to have people vying for those positions. I felt, generally speaking, we weren't producing much up until that 57th minute when we managed to get a corner. Trunter, talk me through this goal from Finlay.
Excellent delivery from Milne, which we're coming to expect. And it was... Finlay didn't so much have to muscle his way past the guys. He kind of knew where it was going, which made me think it was quite training ground. And he popped that like top bins. It was just such an assured header. He's properly becoming one of my favourite Hearts players at the moment. I mean, obviously he's probably becoming all of our favourite Hearts player at the moment. But yeah, it looked so well rehearsed. Like I say, Finlay didn't need to muscle past the guys, but he could have. So we've got a real player there and a real threat, which is bizarre because we were looking at a couple of wee stats earlier on. So that's now Finlay's got 4 goals for us, which is as many as he racked up in 5.5 years in his career previous, which is crazy because he looked so assured. Not giving away any spoilers for the rest of the game or anything, but that was a top-class header into the top bins.
I have to say, I don't think the Dundee United players will want to look back at it. Finlay was able just to take a couple of steps back and he kind of had all the room to himself. But yeah, I don't want to take anything away from the finish itself. He couldn't have placed that header any better whatsoever. So after that goal, there was a substitution. We brought off the largely ineffective Spittle, and he was replaced by Kurjota, and that meant Kizaridis moved over to the left. Good bit of flexibility we've got with Kizaridis, and Kurjota played over across on the right. Dundee United at this point, I think, were pretty much moving men back and creating a bit of a low block, which we kind of struggled to really get a hold on, to be honest, and Dundee United were relying more on counter-attacks. There was also a couple of hairy moments from slack play from both Halkett and Clark, respectively. But as we came into those last few minutes, we didn't look like we had any desire to settle for a point. We had a couple of huge opportunities. One was a great save from the keeper. Another was cleared off a line. It felt like it's just going to be one of those days where we come away with a point and think, okay, dust ourselves off. It wasn't an awful point. Let's just move on to the next one. Finlay had other ideas in the 94th minute. Talk me through, Adam.
Yeah, so like you, I wasn't really expecting a winner. Once again, with a corner, obviously the set piece coach is doing a brilliant job. This time it was Kizaridis crossing it in, and Finlay with an absolutely brilliant diving header somehow manages to get it to the opposite corner of the goal. And I thought that was even better than the second goal. And another highlight of it was seeing Shankland celebrate right in the Dundee United player's face. And just seeing the absolute joy from the players. Finlay even got booked, I think, in the celebrations. And it was just incredible. And in the stands, I mean, you're hugging everyone in sight. It was just such an incredible feeling. And for me, I was so relieved because there's so much optimism at the moment, and I really felt like we had to win just to keep that going, because we got a chance, of going on a really good run in the first few games of the season, and seeing us turn around a 2-1 deficit and to come back and win like that. It just gives you so much encouragement for the spirit of the squad. So yeah, I'm still buzzing, like, a day later from that goal and the celebrations. It was just amazing.
There was just so much to love about this goal. I mean, right from just to have the wherewithal, it must have been a training ground move, this one, because it just looked so perfectly well delivered. And for Finlay to read it and go low and get his head to it. What I also love about Finlay is the fact if you saw it, remember in the Aberdeen game where he just clattered into the keeper, this time he's putting his head down where he's going to be likely, there'd normally be boots flying, but he got his head on the end of it. It is a sensational finish. And everyone, as you said, just went mental. I remember I got a text from you, Adam, just after, because at this point I was way up at the back and I was just hugging some randoms as you do. I got a text from Adam right after it saying, my Coca-Cola just went flying. So I knew it was absolute pandemonium down where you were, Adam.
Pretty sure I didn't say Coca-Cola instead of Coke, just to be clear.
Right.
I'm not really someone that I'm not generally someone that specifies like the full name of
My
Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola with ice and a straw went flying.
I mean, the funny thing is, like, I'd bought it and I had about one drink out of it, and then yeah, I had like a jacket which was completely soaked, and it was just like, honestly, it felt almost like, celebrations at like a derby or whatever, because it's just literally like, I mean, I fell over almost, like, massive bruise today, because it was just such a. I think it wasn't just that we got a late winner against Dundee United away. It was the fact that it kept us winning the 6th game we've won this season. There's something about momentum, and yeah, it was a relief and also just such an incredible feeling.
And I completely understand what you're saying about just the momentum, the celebration, the momentum carrying on. Because it wasn't, I mean, we all love getting a last minute winner, but that one just felt different. Everyone was it was just a fantastic feeling all around the Hearts fans. One I've not felt in a long time. It's only 2 games into the league, but there's just so much belief that this could be a special season for us. On the whole of it, probably the worst performance since that Dunfermline game in the League Cup. Whilst it wasn't great, it just had this gritty determination. I think what really added to everything was just seeing the players' reaction to it as well. It might as well have been a cup final, just with how everyone was just running about, going mental at each other. And as you say, Shankland looking like a different beast altogether. One thing that really pissed me off was like So Finlay got a vape thrown at him, and as part of the celebrations, he picked it up and pretended to take a puff from it and then kind of threw it back on the grass, and he got booked for that. How can that be a booking? That really did my head in. I could go on and on about this one and the Aberdeen game beforehand. Could go on and on about the standard of refereeing in this country, but that's a rant for another day. What is your feelings on the performance and the result overall, Trunter?
I think there's a steal there and there's a grind there that we wouldn't have seen under Critchley that I think McInnes has brought in. And like you guys were talking about, Shankland looked like a different man. Obviously, we don't know what's gone on with those contract talks for him to become the signing of the season, Jamie, new signing of the season. But like the attitude was phenomenal there. Adam, just while we're here, what actually hurt you when was it your leg, you say?
Yeah, I think I was with John. Like at that point, Jamie was at the back by that point because he couldn't get back down to us. I think in time for the goal, and John was with his friends, and like, we were all kind of falling about the place. And then, while I was celebrating with John, I was like, I must have just whacked into like the seat next to me or something. I almost fell on the ground, but I managed to just steady myself. But yeah, it was worth it.
Undetermined injuries, they're the best ones, man. They're the best ones, especially at the football, and especially when you're stone cold sober. That's impressive.
Oh, it was just honestly, it's one of those ones everyone stands the whole match, and then when you're trying to celebrate like crazy and you're all standing in an all seated stadium, it's yeah, it's a normal thing, I guess. Especially like the seats are pretty tight and close together at Tannadice. But it was just yeah, I can't exaggerate how great that. Like Damie said, it wasn't like a standard away win. It's the kind of win when you feel like something bigger is building, and what you're almost celebrating the general feeling, not even just that one goal. And I think also there's something more important about a win like that when you've been 2-1 down, and like it's not just going out there and winning 3-0. There's something almost more impressive about giving away two like cheap goals like that and still coming back and winning. That tells you so much more about the team than if we just gone out there with an easy win.
That's how you get it
So
done, man.
yeah, it's the spirit of the team and the celebrations from the players and the fans. I think there's also a togetherness at the moment. There's a real I think when we went down 2-1, you didn't really sense that the fans were turning against the players. Obviously, last season we were on such a bad run. 2-1 down at halftime would have been an absolute nightmare. But I think the fans at the moment are really backing McInnes and the players, and it's just a togetherness which has been missing for a while, obviously because of how we've been on the pitch and like going through different managers.
I think that's a great point, Adam, just about how we didn't turn. It was just, as you say, there's just this belief that we will get something. Like, don't get me wrong, as we're going to the final few minutes and, like, say, a ball was cleared offline, you did get a feeling of, right, it's just not going to be our day. But there was still sort of a good mood around the place. But throughout, the fans were great. The players were great. There was just a good energy. The performance wasn't fully there, but it didn't really matter when you've got that determination. And look, I can't not talk about our set pieces. Obviously, 1 from penalty and 2 from corners. Looking at the statistics, so from our 9 corners, we got first contact 9 times. And Dundee United aren't a small team. They're a well-drilled team as well. Obviously, actually, I feel I want to give some credit to Dundee United. They obviously had a very good result in Europe. I thought they'd look a bit more disjointed and a bit more tired than they were, but they gave a good showing, and I do think we were worthy of the 3 points, but I have to say they put up a fair old performance, a bigger performance than I was expecting, if I'm being totally honest.
Yeah, they look good. I think they'll be top 6.
Yeah, definitely. I was surprised by them, but get up them. Right.
It's up them indeed. I've got a wee bit just to add on the Dundee United game because at first I was looking at it as a bit of a handicap. So basically, I work in hospitality. I manage a cafe, and basically my weekends are more or less gone. So it's very tricky for me to get to the games. But I'd forgotten the sheer joy of what can happen when you're working in a job like hospitality during the weekend. I've got a fellow Jambo. Big shout out to Mike. He's one of our chefs, and he was still super busy making, food. It was a little bit easier for me. I was kind of managing the floor, so I could kind of check on my phone. So whichever one of us would pick up the match, what was going on in the match, who was scoring, whatever, would shout to the other one through the pass at work. And it's not the same, obviously, as being a match, but there was just like proper joy when we equalised. I just screamed through to the pass. He was buzzing, and then he's shouting, Trunter, is that how long's that now? Is that 90 minutes? I'm going, Mike, that's 90 minutes. That's we're in injury time. And when we got the winner, we both went a bit mental. I probably shouldn't have. I should have been a bit more professional, but I did shout into him, and it was just, again, does not compare to going to the match, but my word, that was that was fun. I really enjoyed sharing that with someone else that cared.
Won't go into it, but I know you had a difficult week, Trunter, so I'm really glad you were able to end that week on a more positive note. And it sounds like your cafe is a good place to be right now if you're a Jambo.
Do you want to hear my random trivia about Dundee United that I remembered when?
Go for it.
It just came up and it must have triggered a little memory that I'd picked up at some point. But when we managed to win it in injury time, I'd completely forgotten that apparently there's a Nigerian insult where they call you a Dundee United, which means you're a bit of an idiot or a bit of a loser. You can look this up.
That's unreal.
So apparently, oh man, you Dundee United kind of means it's like akin to like a bottler or like just a bit of a muppet, that'll there's a couple of theories about it. I think the most credible one seems to be from this is so silly, from the 1983 European Cup. Dundee United were playing Roma. I think they'd beaten them 2-0 pretty comfortably. Dundee United had beaten Roma 2-0, and then in the return fixture they lost 3-0. And the theory is that a whole bunch of Nigerian people had bet on Dundee United. So when Dundee United apparently put in a really lackluster performance, basically bottling it, and cost a bunch of people money, it's just sort of worked its way into the Nigerian zeitgeist, and apparently still today it's like an active insult.
That is incredible. I love that Nigeria have their own version of Hibs.
Yeah, 100%. It's the old Hibs in it, Spursy, that kind of thing. I never would have thought of Dundee United, but that's working its way into my kind of insult lexicon there.
Now, before we look at what transfers and news there is, what we'll do is I'm going to give you 2 players as your quiz, and we'll come back later before the episode is finished, and you can give me your answer to what you think it is. I'm going to give you 2 players, and you have to tell me what team connects them out with Hearts. There are 2 Hearts players, and you have to tell me what other team connects them. So the 2 players for you are Alan Maybury and Andy Driver. So I'll leave that with you, and then we'll look at the transfers and news. So obviously, the biggest one was Borchgrevink is out for 2 months, at least. They said 6 to 8 weeks, but I suppose after that they'll be getting up to speed time and so forth, which means we've basically recalled Forrester, and he's going to bounce game tomorrow and then effectively make a decision after that as to whether we're going to keep hold of him or send him back to St Johnstone. We talked before, Adam, about needing a right back and also a goalkeeper, but more pressingly, I think, is a right back. Surely we need to get in one now.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's really important that Forrester gets a full season on loan at St Johnstone, gets to be first choice in a team that's competing for promotion. I think I heard a good point on the Heart Standard podcast where they were saying, Forrester's almost done things out of order. Like he broke into the team and now he's gone out on loan. Whereas what might have been best for him was going out on loan first and then getting his chance in the first team. So I think from a development point of view, I'd much rather see Forrester get a proper season away where he's guaranteed, hopefully guaranteed first team football. And I think from a Hearts point of view, we just need to have a stronger right back who can, compete with Borsch. Hopefully he'll come back in the next few weeks, but absolutely has to be the priority now. And I'll be a little bit disappointed if the outcome is we bring back Forrester and we don't sign anyone, but I can't see that happening. I think we will sign someone.
No, I can't see either. And, by all counts and purposes, it sounded quite innocuous with Borchgrevink, which means there's probably something a bit more underlying or more liable to these things. So, we talked, media, social media and so forth, talked so often about how we needed someone older, more experienced in that right back role. So it bears belief that we'd want to start the season with Forrester back in it. As you say, St Johnstone just seemed absolutely the perfect one for him. Championship experience and the chance to basically get experience where he's not getting hounded by fans and so forth. And again, I'll say it's not his fault. He's just a young player trying to do his best. And you want to keep him in a team where he's not going to get that level of abuse. Well, I presume he won't get as much there, and give him a different, just give him a better chance at being able to play entire season, because I presume as soon as Borchgrevink is back, then he'll just really fit straight back into that role. I expect when there's still a couple of weeks left, as you say, Adam, I'd be really surprised if we didn't get him in. Next bit of news was that Kabori has finally signed. Unbelievable. I didn't think this day would come, but sure enough, it has arrived. Still not seen him play. Fingers crossed we will see him at the St Mirren game. I'll be interested to see what people think, where he would fit in. Would he be an impact? I suppose it's so difficult to say when we've not seen him, but so far I feel Shankland and Braga have been working really well together. I don't know if we'd really want to change that up, but at least it gives us another option. It just feels that Cabangu now is even further down the pecking order. I wouldn't be surprised to see him go before the window closes now. He's still got something to offer, I think. Musa, surely he's not even in the conversation now, really. You have to assume he's on his way out. Will Cabangu join him? I don't know. We'll see. However, one player that has definitely gone out is Danda. He's been loaned to Dundee. That seems about the right move for him and for us, quite honestly. What were your thoughts about Kabori finally getting signed and Danda away, Trunter?
With Danda, bit gutted to see him go. Not surprised though. I think he's a tidy wee player, and I've always had a wee soft spot for him. I always signed him on FIFA career mode, which I play a lot of FIFA career mode because I'm I'm an old man and I don't get to the games as much as I like to. And it's the wee Swansea connection with Fulton. So I've always thought Danda could get. Yeah, I thought he would have been really good for us at one point, but I don't think now. I think maybe we've moved on without him. And as for Kabore, I think I got it in my head he was a bit more of a winger than a striker. I think maybe we do need another striker. Like Wilson's, I think Wilson's come on in the last 2 games, hasn't he? And Wilson's one of these guys I've always really want him to do well. Obviously homegrown and everything, but yeah, I think option's pretty vital for us just now. So it'd be really interesting to see how Kabore gets on. Yeah.
So our next game coming up will be away to St Mirren. Trunter's been having a look at the St Mirren squad and he's going to give us our thoughts. I know that Olasanya, their top scorer from last season, is away. Is there anyone else we should be looking out for, and how has St Mirren looked so far this season?
When I was watching the Motherwell game, the quality up front from both teams just felt. I was looking for danger men. Jamie asked me to look at danger men. I just didn't see danger men. The main things that I saw that impressed me were I really liked the St Mirren keeper Shamal George. I thought he looked really good, but at the same time, I thought that the Motherwell keeper Callum Ward, who I think is he on loan. I hadn't heard of him before. He looked really good. And again, after having just watched all the highlights of the Dundee United game, I was thinking, we should get this guy in. He looked properly solid. But yeah, like I say, Shamal George looked really good too. Both the St Mirren strikers looked not great. They looked poor in the first half. The second half they kind of came into it a bit. I think St Mirren had a young lad called Mooney. I think it was. He's about 17, and it was one of those chances where you see it drop to someone, and you're like, he's gonna pump that in, and he's just bottled it, and I felt bad for him there. So I'm feeling pretty. Ultimately, I'm feeling pretty positive about the St Mirren trip.
Yeah, I mean, it's been quite funny. They've not scored a Premiership goal so far. Obviously, one of them was against Celtic, fair enough. And they played pretty well, I have to say. A typical sort of Robinson against the Old Firm performance, where they managed to really keep things together, but Celtic being Celtic, managed to score one. They looked solid, but without providing too much up front in that game.
They just didn't. I didn't think Celtic were going to get anything out of that game either. But like I was saying, from the lack of attacking threat that I was looking for, they were never going to beat Celtic. And as soon as Celtic got that one goal, they did so great against Celtic. But you never thought that they're going to win this. You just thought they might grind out a 0-0. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
Across also the Premier Sports games, it's been such a random set of results for them. They beat 4-4 and Ayr both 2-1, managed to put 8 past Annan, and then they also had a 0-0 against Arbroath. It's just difficult to say what type of St Mirren will turn up. I feel pretty confident. Adam, what's your thoughts going into this one?
Yeah, definitely feeling confident. I don't think it's going to be an easy game, but the momentum we have at the moment, I think we'll win, and I still think we've got a good chance of winning the League Cup. I think this is going to be our year under McInnes, so I kind of have to predict the win anyway, since I said the League Cup would be what we win this year. But I do think everything's right for us to go out there and get, I'm going to say, like a 2-0 victory.
Well, bollocks, because that's what I was going to say.
We can say the same, but different goal scorers if you want.
Fine, we'll do that. Right. As I went first last time, you can go first this time, Adam.
I'm going to say 2-0, and I'm going to go for something a bit different and say Kabari comes on as a sub and gets the second.
That's so annoying because that's literally what I was going to say.
Jamie, we
I
spent
bloody
too
knew
much
you'd
time.
say that as well.
Well, Jamie, look, right, you can say it after, and we'll give you credit and say, like, you weren't just copying me.
No, it's fine. I'll go for someone different, but I'll wait
Well, you've
until I
got
hear
a chance,
Trunter's.
because I think my one's not got a lot of chance, to be honest. But
Yeah, true, Will. What do you think then, Trunter?
I think it's going to be a cagey game, and like we were saying, hopefully if Adam can get tickets, I'm going to go with because I've got the day off. But we'll see how that goes. That's wishful thinking, probably. I think very cagey game. I think it's going to be 1-0, and because I'm an absolute genius and I'm not just reacting to what's going on currently, I think Findlay is going to score again for us.
maybe a header?
We'll take it 1-0.
A header, is it?
Oh, I think it's got to be off the heat.
Yeah.
Fine. In that case, I'll go 2-0. I'll say Milne to get on the score sheet. So I'm a wee bit different. Done a lot of assisting, but now he's going to get himself a goal. Right. So, have you had any thoughts then about my quiz question? I said Alan Mabry and Andrew Driver. One team connects them, but it's not Hearts. Well, out with Hearts, I should say. Any ideas?
I have a feeling, but I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
So I was thinking of I was for some reason I thought of Alan Mabry because I think Mabry's been at more clubs than Driver. First of all, I know Mabry started at Leeds. We signed him from Leeds when he was a youngster. Sold him. He went to Leicester with Hamill and Kaznorbo. Joe Hamill, I remember him going to Leicester. It's funny to think they won the league years later. Anyway, and obviously ended up at Hibs at one point. I have a weird feeling he played for Aberdeen at some point, and I also think Driver maybe later on in his career signed for Aberdeen, but
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure about this.
Right, Trunter, do you have any thoughts about this?
Well, I knew the answer as soon as you asked it.
Fine.
Because
So,
I have a connection. Well, I don't have a connection. Well, I do have a connection because Andy Driver went to my high school. So
Don't tell the story, Trunter.
not that story. So yeah, so I know exactly. People that are vaguely famous or genuinely famous. I know all this teams. So I knew it was Aberdeen straight away because I remember Andy Driver played one entire game for Aberdeen, and I knew that Mabry had been there. So yeah.
Aberdeen was the correct answer, and the reason I thought might stick in your mind, as you say, Trunter only had the one game for Aberdeen, but the reason I thought it might spring a bit of a memory for you is because there was talk just before he moved to Aberdeen that he might rejoin Hearts. Al Mabry, as you say, he's played for this, that, and the other. He's you mentioned Leeds and Leicester, but he's also played in a few Scottish teams. It's the St Johnstone, Hibs, obviously, he's there for a while, and Falkirk. So he kind of did the rounds there. Well, that's it for this week, everyone. Hope you enjoy the St Mirren game, whether you're watching it on TV or if you're one of a lucky few who managed to get along to the game. Send us your thoughts, as always, on Hearts on Sleeves at outlook.com. Follow us on the socials. We're on Twitter. We're on Blue Sky. Sorry, not Twitter, X these days, isn't it? We're also on YouTube and as well as all the usual podcast channels. Please do keep giving us reviews. Please do give us likes and subscribes and share it amongst friends if you can. Until next time, cheers.
All we need is Claudio Braga, Claudio Braga, Claudio Braga.